Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's video, I will be tracking an extreme cold blast taking over the eastern two-thirds of the United States this holiday weekend. Also tracking blizzard conditions across the Great Lakes and southeastern Canada through Christmas. And we'll be taking a deep dive into the long-range weather forecast as well, as another storm system appears likely going toward the New Year's holiday and towards 2023. If you guys here are new to the channel and have not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. I cover Canada, the United States, and the tropics. So everyone, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Looking here this morning across the United States, man, that was such a cold front moved through all the way down through portions of Texas and the Gulf Coast, bringing below zero temperatures overnight across much of the north central United States, double-digit below zero low temperatures across the Dakotas, back into Minnesota here, and especially getting back into Montana, where we got temperatures down near 30 degrees below zero this morning, and even into Wyoming there as well, with 17 below down there towards Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then even southward towards Texas here, Dallas, Fort Worth, back towards portions of Amarillo. We're in the single digits here and even double digits near 10 degrees this morning across those areas, 18 degrees down here in Houston. So a very strong cold front did move through, and look at the wind chills we're waking up here this morning. We are seeing 45 degrees below zero wind chills across the Dakotas, back into eastern Montana and much of southern Canada, especially into Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba here. 30 below zero wind chills across the Midwest, getting into the western Ohio Valley, and all this cold air is going to continue to surge farther to the east through our Friday and actually reach the East Coast and Florida as we get into Friday afternoon here today. So looking here again, Friday afternoon, this afternoon, we're going to be talking about that cold surge of that, colder temperatures moving farther south into the Gulf of Mexico, central and southern Florida, and the East Coast later on today. And these are your afternoon high temperatures across the United States. Yeah, we're only going to reach about 0 degrees in Chicagoland, getting up there toward Green Bay, Milwaukee. Negative temperatures across portions of the upper Midwest and the northern plains. We'll be barely able to muster negative 20 across portions of eastern Montana or the southern Canadian provinces here today. And then farther south across Texas and the Gulf Coast here, from Atlanta back through Jackson, Mississippi, the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, Shreveport, we're going to be barely able to get above 20 degrees as we head here into the afternoon today. Factoring in that wind out there, it's going to be feeling much colder across much of the United States, with those 20, 30, even 40 degree wind chills below zero across these areas, from the Ohio Valley back across the Midwest into the Dakotas here in the northern plains and all of southern and southwestern Canada this afternoon. Not going to be a cakewalk to the south either. We have lots of single digits and teens for wind chills down here across the Gulf Coast, and even getting in here to northwestern Florida down toward the Panama City area as well, getting into this afternoon. Going into your Saturday, Christmas Eve, we do have some of that cold air sticking around across much of the upper Midwest. Again, those single digits to below zero high temperatures for Saturday afternoon. A lot of the wind chills here will also be below zero, from around 10 to 20 degrees below zero, even approaching 30 below up here into Minnesota, portions of the eastern Dakotas for your Christmas Eve. And then on Sunday, Christmas Day, we're going to see some modification to the temperatures across the immediate Gulf Coast, across the Carolinas and Texas, with temperatures returning into the middle 30s and even into the 40 degree mark. But farther to the north, we're still seeing that cold spill of air across the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and the Northeast, with 20s and even back into the teens across these areas here in toward Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then back up here towards Minnesota, Wisconsin, the eastern Dakotas, and much of southern Canada for Christmas Day. We're going to be talking about single digit highs, either above or below zero. Factoring in the wind chill values for Christmas Day, we're going to see below zero wind chills from the Ohio Valley back up here through the Midwest and parts of southern Canada as well. So definitely a very chilly Christmas Day on tap getting through this weekend. If you guys are still with me here in this video, remember to hit the like button down below. It definitely helps get all this weather information out here to more and more people, so I definitely appreciate all the likes out there, guys. But going here through the Friday time frame here, we have that strong winter storm still taking shape across the Great Lakes, moving up here into southeastern Canada, bringing all these blizzard-like conditions, very strong winds here, and again, those heavy snowfall accumulations as well. That is producing lots of blizzard warnings across the Dakotas, back through Minnesota here, Iowa, western Wisconsin, and really all across the Great Lakes here. Lots of winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories here. Some of these winter storm warnings are even extending southward into Kentucky, into portions of Tennessee here, even winter weather advisories as far south as northern Mississippi, eastern portions of Arkansas, and western Tennessee. So that does show you how cold this air is, that we have some of these wintry precipitation moving farther south across the Mid-South and the Tennessee Valley later on today. So tracking this storm, we have the heavy snowfall continuing across Ontario, back through Quebec, places like Montreal, Toronto, getting back through the Detroit areas, and then back across the upper peninsula here of Michigan. We're going to see those heavier snowfall rates through this afternoon. Some snowfall moving into portions of western New York, back into Pennsylvania with some heavier snow there. It'll be all rain across Maine, getting back through Vermont, New Hampshire, down through places like Boston, Connecticut, getting into portions of Rhode Island here with those warmer temperatures on the leading edge of this system this afternoon. But look, as we head into the evening hours into early Saturday morning, we have that heavy snow sticking around across the southeastern Canadian provinces here, across Toronto, across Montreal, and those surrounding areas, and then maybe some lighter snowfall and some flurries trying to sneak in across the New England region, going through this afternoon and getting into the evening hours. And then going through the day on Saturday, Christmas Eve, we're still going to see those lingering snow showers across much of Ontario and Quebec, with those very strong isobars on the backside of this system, producing some blizzard-like conditions for Christmas Eve. And then by the time we get to Christmas Day here on Sunday, December 25th, we'll start to clear a lot of the snowfall out here of southeastern Canada and much of the United States, with exceptions of maybe some flurries back here across the Dakotas with another clipper system. But other than that, we're going to be seeing that storm system clear on out by the time we get to Christmas Day. But not before we see lots of heavy snowfall across portions of Ontario and Quebec. We're going to be talking over a foot of snowfall, if not over 2 feet in some areas across central Ontario, getting through central Quebec here. Very heavy lake effect snow as well across much of the Great Lakes here, and then a stripe of some 2 to 4 inch snow amounts could be expected from Kentucky back through southeastern Indiana here, Ohio, getting into west central Pennsylvania, western portions of New York, and then getting up here towards Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire as we get through the Christmas Day time frame. And look at how strong this low is. We got a 974 millibar low pressure system in the eastern Great Lakes as we head into this afternoon. But look how strong it gets as we get into Christmas Eve. We got a very strong 969, if not a little bit stronger, millibar low pressure system across Quebec and Ontario, bringing all those strong wind gusts here, creating those blizzard conditions. And that tight pressure gradient on the backside, very strong winds. And you can see those winds coming out of the west and the northwest on the backside of the system here, roaring across the Great Lakes. We're going to be seeing sustained winds between 20 and 30 miles per hour across portions of Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and all of the Ohio Valley here. And getting into the Great Lakes, very windy across the New England region as well on the day today. And then going through tomorrow, Christmas Eve, that wind will linger across portions of the Great Lakes with that tight pressure gradient and those strong isobars as we head through that time frame. Looking at the wind gusts out there, very strong wind gusts here. Wherever you see those tan shaded colors, those are wind gusts over 50 miles per hour, and we could even see some winds over 70, even 80 miles per hour getting up across portions here of Long Island, getting up there towards Cape Cod, eastern portions of Massachusetts, Maine, and portions of interior New England, going through Christmas Eve timeframe into the morning hours. So definitely some isolated to scattered power outages are possible here with these strong winds. But looking longer range, if you guys are wanting here some warmer weather, there is some promising warm weather on the way, getting toward the very end of December and turning the page to 2023, the first day or so of January. The Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day temperature outlook does promise a likely above normal temperatures across much of the lower 48, really centered on the Great Lakes and the Midwest, all the way down into North Texas here from December 28th through January 1st. Also a very active period of weather as well. Lots of rainfall and precipitation here and some very heavy mountain snows likely across the west coast here, up toward the Pacific Northwest, and even some active weather across the Great Lakes, stretching back down here toward the Missouri Valley as we get through the first here of the month of January. So looking here at this system as we see it move into the west coast, this is our new system we'll be talking about going into early next week on Tuesday, December 27th. A very strong upper level jet streak will be moving in across the west coast of the United States, and this is going to bring a fire hose of moisture across the west coast to places like Washington, Oregon, California, and even Nevada as well on Tuesday. That will continue to dive in across California toward the Baja of California as we get into Thursday, December 29th, late next week. And that's going to be bringing lots of heavy coastal rains from portions of Seattle down through Portland, Oregon, and then farther south towards north central California. Some very heavy flooding rains are likely going into early next week. That will continue going through that Thursday timeframe late next week with continuous rain with that fire hose of moisture across north central California. Very heavy snows breaking out across the Sierra Nevadas and all those ski resorts here across portions of Idaho, Nevada, getting up through Washington and Oregon State. Some very heavy higher elevation snows can be expected across those areas. But looking at the liquid precipitation here, the rainfall out there, we could be seeing some very heavy rainfall amounts across western Washington, western Oregon, and northern California here, averaging around 4 to 7 inches of rain, with locally higher amounts, especially up here towards Seattle, where we could be up to near 8 inches of rain going through the end of the month here of December. Farther to the south, we're going to be getting some beneficial rains across central northern California. We'll be averaging around 1 to 3 inches of rain. Again, in northern California here, we could be averaging around 4 or 5 inches of rain locally. So very heavy rain on the way across these areas. And then looking at the snowfall amounts going through the first couple of days here of January, from now through the first couple of days of January, we could be talking about lots of beneficial snow for a lot of the ski resorts out there across the Pacific Northwest here through Idaho, western Wyoming, getting into Utah here around the Salt Lake City area, getting back across northern Nevada here, the northern Sierra Nevadas here, and then eventually getting up into the higher elevations in Washington and Oregon State, where we'll be seeing feet of snow, 2, 3, even 4 feet of snow, not out of the realm of possibility across these areas. Moving on down to the south across the Sierra Nevadas here, we're going to be seeing lots of heavy snow over the next week or so, where we're going to be seeing 3, 4, 5 feet of snow likely across the Sierra Nevadas here, with lots of that moisture moving into the watershed here. So that is some good news across those areas going through the first couple of days of January. But that warmth does move eastward, like I did say, here towards the middle of the country here in the eastern 2/3 of the country, going right through Christmas Eve here, and then going through portions of right through New Year's Eve and getting into New Year's Day with those warmer than average temperatures across portions of eastern Canada down through the eastern 2/3 of the United States, where we could be warming up a good 15 to 20 degrees above average across those areas after a very strong cool down here this week. And you can see that a promising warm up going toward Friday, December 30th across much of the eastern 2/3 of the country. We'll say goodbye to the Siberian Express, and we'll say hello to the 50s, 60s, and 70s down here across Texas, the Gulf Coast, the Tennessee Valley, and Florida once again, going into that Friday, December 30th timeframe. And going into New Year's Eve, we'll be seeing those temperatures hanging around, this time moving all the way up here towards portions of Illinois, Michigan, the Ohio Valley. So we'll be melting away some of that snowpack as we get towards the New Year's Eve timeframe. And then even going into New Year's Day on Sunday, January 1st, to start the first day of 2023, lots of warmth moving up toward the East Coast here. Even portions of New York State will be up near 55, even 60 degrees is possible going into New Year's Day out there, with some of that colder air starting to spill back down across the north central Rockies and the Dakotas, potentially with those teens for highs on New Year's Day. We'll also see a blocking pattern across eastern Canada during this time frame. So whenever you see a blocking pattern with a high pressure system across eastern Canada during that time frame, we could have another trough sneaking in underneath that across the southern plains, bringing some more unsettled weather across Texas and the deep south as we get into that New Year's Eve time frame on Saturday, December 31st. And looking at that here on the 30th, here on Friday, December 30th, We could have a 999 millibar low or thereabout here starting to develop on the lee side of the Rockies. And this will take another kind of a hook pattern where it kind of develops on the lee side of the Rockies and then takes what we call here a Texas panhandle hook type of low pressure system and then dives down across Texas into Oklahoma, pulls up all that moisture here from the south, and then moves up across portions here of the eastern 2/3 of the country. And you can see all the moisture, the deep moisture this system could be moving in with. You have the southerly flow ahead of the system here. You have the northwesterly flow on the backside, bringing that drier, cooler air down on the New Year's Eve time frame. And then by the time we get to New Year's Day on Sunday, January 1st, a very strong, powerful low pressure system, possibly yet again somewhere across the Great Lakes or the Midwest, as this model here, the European guidance, does show this dropping to near a 996 millibar low as we get into that time frame. We could be breaking out with some rain and thunderstorms potentially across the deep south going into that Friday, December 30th time frame. Some mountain snows across the Colorado Rockies during that time frame here as that system develops. Then we'll see potentially some severe weather break out across portions of the deep south and the Tennessee Valley if this system can draw up enough moisture and warmth ahead of this storm system. Maybe some snows on the backside across Nebraska, South Dakota, western Minnesota going into New Year's Eve, and then going into New Year's Day, we could have a stripe of some snow across Minnesota, western Iowa, getting across portions here of Nebraska, South Dakota here with those heavier rains up across much of the eastern 2/3 of the country. And this time looks like some heavy rainfall across the central and eastern Great Lakes going in towards the start of 2023. Looking at the precipitation amounts, or at least the possible precipitation amounts during this period, very heavy rains are possible from the Great Lakes on southward through the Tennessee Valley, the Arklatex, getting down toward the Gulf Coast with this system as it draws up all that moisture. Dew points will be rising, temperatures will be rising, so we'll have plenty of moisture available with this system. Also have to watch on the backside for some snowfall as well, especially this time of year with these systems. Maybe a stripe of some snow across the Minnesota, getting into Nebraska and South Dakota here, according to the European high resolution guidance. Going over to the Canadian guidance, a little farther to the southeast and a little stronger with this system's cold air on the backside, which produces a heavier stripe of snow, this time from Wisconsin through Iowa, northwestern portions of Missouri, possibly including the Kansas City area, and then getting back through Kansas and even Oklahoma here as well. So some differences there in the track of this system, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it as we get a little bit closer towards that New Year's Eve and New Year's Day time frame. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Remember to like the video down below by giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new. Hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Friday, everyone. A Merry Christmas, and I hope everyone has a great day out there.